Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of the Artsy Raven. Today we have Harma Hartouni, and he is a self-made entrepreneur and developer. He owns a real estate company employing hundreds of residential and commercial real estate agents in Southern California and runs the #1 ranked real estate business in the region. He has created a successful brand with his growing business footprint in Los Angeles, building a large real estate practice exceeding $1 billion in sales volume in 2019. And he lives in Los Angeles with his partner, their 3 children, 3 dogs, and 2 turtles. And he's here today to talk about his book, Getting Back Up, A Story of Resilience, Self-Acceptance, and Success, which was released in March 2021. The book is a collection of life events that have been most impactful in leading him where he is today, a proud gay man living in Los Angeles, one of the most successful real estate entrepreneurs in America, and a husband and father of 3. So thank you very much for coming on to our show.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started writing?
Yes, I have an unusual life story. I was born in LA, but I was 30 days old when my mom decided to move back to Iran, when her family were from, and where she fell in love with my father. And we're Armenian Christian living in Iran. It was we were a minority, although I think they treated us really well. And I decided that I want to have a different life when my accident happened back home, and we can talk about it later. And that accident changed my life. I moved back to the US. I'm currently a real estate broker. I have a few hundred agents, and I have gone through some challenges in my life. And when I decided to have kids, it was something that gay couples don't have. 10 years ago, it was not the norm that you see in TVs right now. And I was very inspired after my sister got pregnant. I was like, I want to have a family. And I am very grateful. I have 3 awesome, kind children, and we live very awesome life and lots of challenges to get where we are. And I wrote the book thinking this would be awesome lessons for my kids as their birthdays come, as they grow older, and I can share one story at a time. So because I don't think any kid in the world should go through what I have gone through. But as I finished it, my partner said, this should be a book. And I was shocked because I'm not an author. That's not what I do. And when he read it, and a couple of people around me, they're like, I had no idea these things happened to you. And I didn't write it about what happened back to back. I wrote it as whatever happens to you in life, whoever you are, wherever you are, you gotta learn from it and move to bring it up to the next chapter of your life. But you can't be sad about it, because if you think about the future only, you will have anxiety. If you think about your past only, you will have depression. So I went through that, and I just thought, how do you become present? Which is not easy. Just because I wrote the book or I'm talking about it, it doesn't mean I do it every single day. It's pretty difficult, but it's important to be present. After the accident, I lost everything. So I decided I'm gonna live my life as if today's my last day, and I'm going to think about the future as I'm happily living my life.
So when you first wrote it, were they like little notebooks, or like what kind of format was it? It was just like a little chapter books?
Chapters, yeah. This happened, and what did I learn out of it? And then this happened, what did I learn? And then I had to go back and say, well, let me put them in order, because I blocked everything about my past. I actually don't remember so much. And so I had to really dig in. And it's ironically, I had a therapy for 9 years to try to get over everything. And then I had to go back and open it up. And it did help. It did help to just accept it. It was really helpful to accept it versus run away from it.
Yeah, I've gone through like a major depression myself. And I think you need time. Like after some time, you're able to step away from it and you can sort of think more, I guess, logically about what happened, instead of like when you're so thick in the weeds, you can't do anything. All you do is you feel the pain, right? So when you're sort of a bit further away, you can sort of process it a bit more, I think. And I hope your children will enjoy it. I'm just thinking about how we went back to my parents' house. My father passed away a few years ago, so we're just packing up stuff, and then I found a little scrapbook. So when we were kids, we were kind of impoverished, I guess. Like we would cut out little pictures from catalogs of what we want for Christmas, but we never get it. Whatever. So I'm showing my son, who was like, 6, and I'm like, look, mommy never had toys. This is it. Like we had our flyers, and he's like, whatever, mommy. Like get me my Paw Patrol, and
Exactly. They don't have our lives. They don't
yeah,
understand it. And I'm just trying to have that understanding for them. And maybe 6 is young, but
yeah,
but if you talk about it, it will
yes.
be okay to keep talking about it when they're 16 and 20. But eventually, if I didn't share it, they would never know.
It's true. I wish my father, before he passed, that we knew more about him,
Mhm.
because he was such a quiet man. And I actually, now that we look back, we're like, oh, we didn't realize he enjoyed, this or that. And, so many stories are lost. So having written it down, it's really nice you have it for the next generation. And I notice in your chapters, like at the end, you have sort of a little bit of a reminiscence, I guess, after the whole horrible story, the thing that happens,
Yeah.
and what you learned from it. So yeah, so I've been reading the book and enjoying some of the messages in there. Now, I guess, how did you get it published? Like for a lot of writers, after you write something, how do you get it out to the world, right? So
It's a very good question. Not I've been in a lot of places that no host ever asked me this. So I mean, one or two.
really,
It's
okay,
good because I had no idea when you write a book, you don't make any money.
yep, no money.
No money. Absolutely. You pay to get published. And I send my book to maybe, I don't know, 400 agents.
Oh wow.
Only 13 of them responded,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, we're not a match.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that really demolishes your confidence. Like you're thinking about, is this the most horrible story out there? Like, you don't
Yeah.
realize. And so I said, well, I'm going to self-publish. And there was a hybrid thing, which I never even looked into it. And I just said, my company name is the Harma Group by Incorporation. I said, the Harma Group will publish this. And here, if I'm paying for it, I'm doing it the way I want it. And I just got someone to do the cover page. And then I had to hire a proofreader and then a copy editor, which I had no idea there's a difference between them, and then jacket designer and then inside designer. I didn't know anything about it. And then someone who uploads it. I was like, and I'm running a very big organization here,
Yep.
and I am overwhelmed with the one book. I was like, this is just so difficult. Um, I I I have received people that ask me they would like to be my agent now. They want me to write another book, which is kind of interesting that no one cared first. But publishing a book is like you really want to have a passion for it, and if you want to do it right, you got to do everything right. And I believe I have a great PR team. I have a great team that helped me with ongoing the talk. And now that it's been out for a few months, I'm getting requests to talk about it. It's like people get to read it first, So I didn't realize, my partner's in the movie industry, when you open a movie, is the weekend that he opens the movie and that's it. And this book, I didn't realize is going to be ongoing. It's not 1 month of busyness and you're done. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, I think part of that is because you had self-published it. Normally with traditional publishers, it's hot
Mhm.
for like a month or two, and then, then they move on to the next thing, right? Because it's a cycle, it's a business. And books, I know it's a very risky game. Like, it's almost like 9 out of 10 books lose money. So it's sort of like that one book will pay for all the other books. But when you do it yourself, you're in control, and you can keep doing your
Yeah.
talk shows and whatever, and promoting it as long as you want, because it's your baby. So
Yeah.
it's a very different concept. But I mean, I think self-publishing has also a lot more respect now than before, although it's a lot harder. I think every year over 1 million books just from the US is self-published. So it's a double-edged sword, right? So I believe, there are some that are better than others, like the ones that, spend time on the editing and the marketing, and then what can you say, right? And there's some that are just publishing the raw stuff. Like I feel a bit uncomfortable with that because, it hasn't been looked at by anybody. There's spelling mistakes, but it depends on the person. I mean, some people are just happy writing fan fiction too, right?
I had
So,
one agent who said
mhm,
that will pick me as an agent if I will let them change my writing because it's not the writings is used to
mm,
represent. And I didn't understand, but one of the things is like, if you read this book, I don't think there's a grammar mistakes or spelling, but I mean, I'm hoping there isn't, but the writing, if you watch me in anything for 5 minutes, I wrote it as my sound. It's
yes,
not
it's your
written as,
voice.
yeah, it's completely my voice. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to get, someone said, we will make it like perfect English. I said, well, I don't speak perfect. Once I want to read this and come and see me on my video and be like, that's not the guy who wrote the book. I said, oh, it's
Yeah.
going to be my analogy, my comments. And I want people to follow it. And I know sometimes people get lost in translation, but I I want to keep it. And then that's honestly one of the feedback I get, that no one is able to put the book down once they start reading it. They just want to finish it. And that was the goal. And I wanted to be like real right there. And it's all good.
Yeah, I think in our society in the publishing world, a lot of the more literary fiction get more respect, like
Mhm.
compared to a lot more plain English or the fantasy, the genre stuff. No
Correct.
respect. And that's the stuff I write. So anyhow, no respect for me. But so I mean, in your book, can you describe briefly, just give us a brief overview of what happens? Like, you came out in a situation that was really hard to deal with, and there was a lot of abuse, and oh gosh, all these
Yeah.
horrible things, and then somehow you ended up here. So give
Yeah.
us a brief overview.
I give you the short version. The book basically has two parts. The first part is my life all the way to the accident, and one is after the accident. The accident is basically, which is the cover of the book, is basically the rebirth of me being able to become who I want to be, which would, even that took me time to accept myself. I talk about that. Beginning of my life, I grew up with a father who, it was extremely hardworking, intelligent, um, and businessman who came from absolutely nothing, grew up with not a parents, and his excuse for the actions that he took against me and my mother, or how he treated us, it was truly because he didn't know how else to do it, and his excuse was that he didn't know how to love, and he didn't know, he didn't have it, so he's not going to do it. And I really still don't understand it. I understand enough to say, okay, someone can choose that, but I don't understand when someone says, I chose that, and everybody shut up about it. It's just, I'm not okay with that,
Well, was part of it was a male culture that you
because
described too, right?
it's
The
because,
patriarch.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he's the man of the house. Woman, men, kids, they shut up because he pays, and that's just the way it is. And I think this is a culture of so many people. It's not just Armenian, Middle Easterns,
No.
all over. But yeah, but there's a limit of little bit of, you know, um, abuse can be verbal, can be beat a lot. And personally, I've gone through all of it. And I'm so glad my sister and brothers didn't, and made very, very little, I will say, or none. And my mom was saved in a sense of able to not go through that emotional abuse and physical abuse after we moved here. So the book talks about that culture, as well as me thinking all my life, because I'm a little bit feminine, or I'm intuitive, or whatever it was. I don't know at that time what was I thinking, but I just thought something is wrong with me and I need to get medicine to heal myself, because it's not okay who I am. And then I had a car accident that happened in Iran, and then I walk out of that car accident, nothing happens to me, and another car hits me, and my both legs broke. And I was not able to walk according to the doctor, but I did. And I moved to the US for vacation because my dad didn't like the US, and I convinced him to come here for 3 weeks. And the third day I said, I'm not coming back. I managed to bring brothers and sisters. Then I came out. It was difficult. And now is I have the biggest, the same way that my mom tried to kill herself and took me to therapy to convert me back to being straight. She's the first mom that is at my house on my anniversary with flowers and gifts. So it's this, the book ends up sharing that stay strong, be who you are. If you make mistakes, which I have made several, be okay with it. Don't beat yourself. We're the only animal on the planet that we memorize what happened to us, and we beat ourselves harder for something in the past, and we punish ourselves over and over, and we don't let go. So most animals will fall down, or they get something and they get up and they're like, okay, we're not going to do that again, and moving on. And we just don't do that. And I just share all that to know, like, mom, be an example, live your life, forget about what happened, which is, again, not easy, but the whole intention of the book to show that if I can do it, no matter where you're from, you know, if you're a straight man from Latin culture, that you went through the same thing as your father did, or you're a Korean wife who's been, you know, not able to speak up because of the husband, and you're a gay man from Europe, it just doesn't matter. You can relate to my story and get back up.
So are your parents like separated now? I guess your mom is
I
in
convinced her to
Okay.
divorce him, and she decided to serve him when he came over for dinner at my house and my husband's house one night.
Yeah, it's a habit, right? Like they've been
I was
together
like,
so many years.
how could you wait to serve him when he was at the uncle's house, at my house? So
Yeah.
that was a big step for her because, you know, in my culture, wives cannot divorce. So
Yeah, or they make it just really, really hard in some cultures. It's just not very good. So how did you deal with the marketing of the book after it was done? Like you mentioned, you hired a PR team. Is that how you?
I interviewed 38 PR team.
Oh, wow.
Then
Okay.
I learned 38. It was exhausting, a lot of Zooms. And then I put a little bit about the book, the goal. Then I realized after 5 interviews, they're asking the same question. So I just didn't want to answer anymore. So I prepared the answer and I give it to them before. Everybody wanted to know, who do you want your audience to be? Who do you think is going to read? How many books do you
They're
want
the
to sell?
MBA graduates, right? They have to fill in their charts.
I should be coaching people how to publish a book. And I said, okay. Then I learned there are many, many publicists out there. But once you narrow down to good ones, there's not many of them.
Yeah.
And then I learned the one who specializes in podcasts and news or media, they're not necessarily on radio, or if it's on a radio, it doesn't mean they're good in social media. The one is on social media, it doesn't mean they have any access to any TV. And I was like, okay, now what do I want to achieve? And then I narrowed down to what's best for me. And then I invested more on my social media separate. So I have 2 team on that.
Cool. Now, do you have any advice for people who want to finish writing a book? Like there's all these people that say they want to write a book, but not many people actually finish. So how did you actually like finish up your project?
Well, I will say that it's very important to write what your story is. But if that doesn't mean it's a book, you know. So if you're writing it because you want to write it and share it with someone, great. Sometimes it's better to publish a book with 3 people and you all have a 3 different story and put in one. It might be even more fun to read. But if you're writing it because of certain elements of a life, or you're a Holocaust survivor, something went through that you want to share, like things like that we want to know and we couldn't be there. It's a history. Absolutely. But don't get disappointed that although my publicist is shocked with how much I have been able to sell on the first month, I was extremely disappointed. But and I was like, that's it. And she's like, Harma, I have a reality star that didn't do this for 2 years combined. You did it in 1 month. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my. So, but what I'm trying to say, don't beat yourself like I did. Don't get disappointed. It is okay if you're just do it for yourself.
Mhm.
And if you're going to want to do it right, make sure you have a budget to hire the team
Mhm.
that needs to get you there. Don't just upload it on Amazon and think, okay, I'm done, you know?
Yeah, don't worry about the numbers. I think I'll do better
Yeah,
selling cupcakes myself than
absolutely.
selling books. Okay, so we're going to hear a little bit from you, 10-minute reading from your book. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to read before you read?
Sure. I picked a chapter called Recovery. This is the part that it was an accident, the accident happened, and how long did it take me and what I gone through to recover. And this is when I'm in a bed straight for 13 months. So recovery. And every chapter I usually have a couple of sentences in the beginning that kind of is like a punch of the book, a punch of the chapter. I'm reading. I will never know whether it was the donkey oil or the chicken feet that helped me walk again. And once I read, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm reading all of it, but it will make sense. This isn't a self-help book, but I think a little assignment is in order. Tomorrow, when you wake up in the morning, don't move. Don't grab your phone. Don't check your email. Don't turn on the news. You may be late. You may need to get your day started, but I would like you to just lay down for the 15 minutes. By the time you reach the 15 minutes, if you can make it that long, I can guarantee you will be going insane with boredom. This is the best way I can describe the 9 months following my surgery, minus the pain. I wore casts from just above my knees down to my feet. At first, they were white, but eventually, per my request, they were changed to fluorescent green. My parents prepared a bed in the living room for me to recover. From my bed, I had a view of outside. I could see the roof of a house across the street. Through my recovery, demolishing the house, cleared the land, and built a new home. When they finished, I still couldn't walk. I stepped alone through sometimes on which Bichon Free's dog jumped on my bed and lay on my feet. Perhaps he knew that was the part of my body that needed the most attention. And I have some pictures on that page. Next to my bed was a bucket that I was able to shift my body enough to pee in. Every morning when I woke up, my mom prepared breakfast for me. My mood was utterly unpredictable, and it didn't take long for depression to set in. Sometimes I would scream at her if she didn't prepare what I wanted. When it came time to bathing, my mom put plastic trap down on beneath me and sponged bath me. I felt disgusting and dirty. There was no cable, but sometimes my parents rented movies for me. My dad also got a satellite dish, which allowed me to pick up TV stations from other places through often they weren't in language I could understand. Should I continue? Is this good? Oh. That was pretty much it. The time never passed. It never went away. No matter what I did, it would be only 30 minutes later. The highlights of my day were eating lunch, eating dinner, going to bed. Doctor recommended I eat smaller, healthier portions. My mother lifted me every day and rubbed my back because laying straight without being able to move would create dark blue bruises all over my back. On occasion, my dad rubbed my back too, but I was always felt a bit uncomfortable. We lived on the third floor. Getting me up and down the stairs was such a task. I felt the apartment only a few times during my entire recovery for surgery and doctor appointment. I was angrier than I had ever been. I was also embarrassed. I hated everyone. People came to see me and I wouldn't have to ask them to leave the room so I could pee or shed in my bed in private. It was humiliating. I hated people for visiting me. I hated them because they could walk and I couldn't. I also hated them when people didn't visit me. I hated when people didn't acknowledge or ask what happened to me. I hated when people asked me what happened. I hated them because they had never cared about me until my accident. I hated the fact I knew deep down people talking about me behind my back. There were such an outpouring of sympathy from friends and family, and it started to make me feel paranoid. I didn't feel there was hope, optimism, or positivity accompanying everyone's sympathy. Everyone just felt sorry for me in a way that made me feel hopeless. Over time, the absence of those sentiments made me feel less like the accident had been a setback and more like it had been a tragedy.
All right, we're gonna end it there. Yeah. Okay. So why did you choose to share that with us? I mean, I was just thinking about all the more traumatizing passages, but this is traumatizing too. But this is sort of like this is where is after the accident and how
Yeah,
you're feeling. So.
I don't. First of all, I don't think I'm comfortable reading the trauma myself. That's one. Second, I think although this is dark, it's because I'm walking now and I'm speaking with you now. There's a positive into it. So
Yeah.
I want people to hear that.
How long did it take for you before you started actually learning how to walk again?
14 months.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
I
Like,
couldn't walk. I had to
yeah.
be on wheelchair, and then I had to be on a walker, but not walk, just stand up, because my body was just not strong. And then slowly with a lot of physical therapy. So.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your book with us. And it sounds like you're working really hard to get your book out there. Are you working on anything else after this? Are you writing your second book for your agent?
I've been, I'm told, I'm encouraged by a few people, including my partner and my people around me. They're constantly asking me to do. If I do, it will be a leadership book, and it will be the same style. I'm going to write it like lessons that I learned from my businesses and in leadership, but I will not. I have a lot on my plate, and I don't think I can do this next 6 months at all.
Oh yeah, I know. My husband's like, writing such a weird business. Like, you guys take forever to write something, and I was like, well, yeah, because you keep rewriting and rewriting and rewriting even before anybody sees it, right? So now where can we find your book? And do you have a website or a Twitter account?
It is on Amazon. It is, and also it's my personal website is harmahartouni.com. And you get to see wherever I have been, pictures. You get to buy it directly from there, which I will appreciate if you do. And yeah.
So awesome. So thank you for being here on the Artsy Raven.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
For more upcoming episodes of the Artsy Raven about writing and publishing, visit us at jfgarage.com/arpodcast. A reminder to Patreon subscribers that there's bonus content available for every episode on the Patreon website. If you enjoyed the show, you can show your appreciation by buying us some digital coffee. The Artsy Raven is produced by J.F. Garrard. The voice in the show's introduction is Chris Gorman, and music is by Tim Moore. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.